Hey guys, Morten Ostad here. Welcome to my channel. Today I am very happy and pleased to add a vinyl album to my collection, one that I wanted on vinyl for a long time. And I've had plenty of opportunities to get this on vinyl, but for various reasons, choosing another format, finding copies that weren't quite what I wanted, and then not looking for it for a while, and you know how things go. But I finally have this wonderful album on vinyl, and I'm going to show it to you in a second. We are, of course, talking about Crowded House, one of the absolute most important bands in my life. I love the work of Neil Finn, as you guys have probably noticed, not least from my Split Ends, showing the Split Ends records, Neil's solo albums, his Finn Brothers stuff, and all that. And I have very slowly been getting some of the albums on vinyl. In 2014, I finally got a record player again. Not having spun vinyl record in my own home for 19 years, still had my old collection of vinyl from my preschool days and my childhood and my teens, but I never had any Crowded House on vinyl. When I started buying their records, it was when CDs were taking over. I still have those old CDs, but they're somewhere else. So in 2016, they started re-releasing. They had a big re-releasing thing going on there with their albums, and they released them on vinyl, but they also released them in this format. And I chose this because this came with an extra disc. I was only 2 years into buying vinyl again, and I wasn't that into buying vinyl again as I am now, I guess. So they released these deluxe editions of the Crowded House albums, and I thought, well, I'll just pick up the vinyl later. But those vinyls, and many of them, got out of print quite quickly, and I was worried I was going to end up with like a Frankenstein monster of Crowded House, some 80s stuff and some later reissues and 2016 reissues, and that is kind of what has happened, because I now have two of those older great albums, and they are from completely opposite sides of the millennium, but yeah, we'll see what we'll do about that later. But like I said, these deluxe editions, you see all those extra tracks, they're absolutely wonderful, with Woodface, of course, and when they got the brother Tim in the band, and my favorite album, Together Alone. If you want one of these 2016 albums of this one, you have to start around £100 to get those. And the wonderful sort of leftover album that they released, which is Afterglow, which is a wonderful album all on itself. And then they released, when they released these, Crowded House had reformed again and released two more albums after Paul Hester died, and that was, of course, the one that I'm wearing the shirt for when I saw them live, Time on Earth, and then I saw them once more with Intriguer. And then they didn't officially break up, but they were gone for quite a few years. And then they got back together again now about 4 or 5 years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago, and has since released two more albums, unfortunately without Mark Hart. So I've spoken about this several times before, but I don't know, I think it was about last week or a week and a half ago, and I was I think I was just checking randomly if some of the Crowded House albums from 2016 were available at one or two stores, and this album popped up and it said that it was going to be released on May 30th. And I thought, what? And it seems that this is a brand new pressing of their debut album. And they didn't get it on Friday at Big Dipper. They got it today, so that's why I went there today. And this is, of course, their debut album, Crowded House. And a wonderful album it is. And this is one of the most important albums. I mean, like I said, Together Alone is my favorite album. That's, they're fully fledged Crowded House for me, with Mark Hart, the wonderful instrumentalist, and Neil Finn just writing these amazing songs, and the whole album just breathes and sweats New Zealand. It's such a wonderful album. But this debut album, I remember I was sitting in a hotel shuttle driving from the Miami airport. My dad and I had flown in from Key West, and we were driving up towards Fort Lauderdale, and they were presenting who is on the radio, who's number one on the Billboard Top 100 or whatever this week. And I had heard that song before we left for Florida, and I was hoping it was going to be number one, because I had fallen in love with Crowded House from that song. And they only made it to number 2. It was Mr. Mister who beat them out. Boo! So yeah, there's the wonderful track list from this perfect pop rock debut album by the band who was almost called the Mullaneys after Neil left, let's just say he put Split Enz to sleep. Brother Tim had already left the band, and he recorded one more album with the guys. Paul Hester had joined Split Enz at this stage, and then they released that one final album, and ended up going out on a farewell tour with Brother Tim rejoining for that. And then he got together with Paul and new man Nick Seymour, and one other person in a new band that was going to be called the Mullaneys, which is, I think, the middle name of Neil and Tim Finn, one of their grandparents' surnames, I think it was. And they were in Los Angeles getting this band prepared, and then they let go of the 4th member, and they decided for a name change, and that ended up being Crowded House. So you got Mean to Me, World Where You Live, Now We're Getting Somewhere, Don't Dream It's Over, of course, Love You Till the Day I Die. On side 2 we got Something So Strong, Hole in the River, Can't Carry On, Tombstone, and That's What I Call Love. Now this seems to be a fairly no frills copy. I was a little worried initially. Is this just, have they sent me the 2016? But I don't think that's the case, because Discogs didn't recognize the barcode, and often it takes a few days before someone puts in that information. The reason why I was a little bit sort of apprehensive, I guess, when I opened it now, was that when it was advertised, it had some sort of sticker. So I don't know what the reason is for this reissue, if it's just a sort of no frill, people are complaining they can't get a new copy of it, or if they are now in the process of going to re-release all of these albums properly, which I hope. I'll probably end up with me then having a couple of copies of these albums, because I really want... I love Crowded House so much, and I want to do it properly this time, and I want a uniform collection of these. So by the time I finally get those, they will probably release some sort of box sets that also forces me to buy that as well. But yeah, You know, like I said, I'm born on the wrong side of the earth. I love Australia and New Zealand. I've never been to New Zealand, of course, but I love everything from that part of the world and their sensibility and their joie de vivre. What a weird thing to say. Yeah. So let's have a look at this. Ooh. Anything in there? Nah, no one does download codes anymore, do they? So we got lyrics, and we got a volcano. All of this, I assume, is Nick Seymour's artwork, of course. Yeah, so the whole album was produced by Mitchell Froom, who is now a member of Crowded House, the current iteration of Crowded House, replacing along with Nick, Neil's sons, replacing Mark Hart. I know I don't know about Mark Hart, but I love Mark Hart. So, except I think there's one song which was an earlier recording session, which is, it's produced by Eddie Rayner and Neil Finn. Eddie Rayner was, he was a Split Enz member, wasn't he? I've never been good at remembering the names of the other guys in Split Enz. Sorry, guys. So Crowded House were at the time Neil Finn, Nicholas Seymour, or Nick Seymour, brother of Mark Seymour from Hunters and Collectors fame, and of course the late Paul Hester. Additional musicians: Tim Pierce, Jim Keltner played on this. So he's played with Neil Finn, but not Paul McCartney. That's interesting. Well, recorded with. We got Jerry Sheff on bass on one track here, Noel Jim Gilstrap, Joe Satriani, background vocals, Jorge Bermudez, percussion, some guy called Horace, Heart Attack horns, and Mitchell Froom on keyboards. So yeah, a lot of the usual suspects. And they kept the old Capitol Rainbow. Do we like that? We like that, don't we? There we go. Wonderful. This just makes me happy, guys. I want to hug it. I know I shouldn't. So, I guess there will be a lot of Crowded House music coming out of my speakers today. So good thing I got a brand new stylus from the same store on Saturday. Comments? What do you think? Should I now wait and not get... By the way, the last two... let's call them the proper Crowded House albums, in a way, from before breaking up. So the two that I now don't have is Afterglow, where the 2016 reissues are still, I think, fairly available out there, and they don't go for a lot of money. They don't go for silly money on Discogs either. But then there's, Together Alone, which does, it's smart not having this on vinyl. I even been close to buying this on cassette just to somehow fulfill some sort of thing there, and that of course was Crowded House just before then. When they were touring with Together Alone, Paul Hester left the band, and I think that sort of put the just made Neil. Maybe he had been thinking about going solo and so on earlier, but when they did sort of reconvene to record more tracks, they did get a replacement drummer. That's when he ended Crowded House, and we got that wonderful live at the Sydney Opera House. Paul, of course, came back, and brother Tim joined as well. Beautiful DVD. If you want to get your hands on some wonderful Crowded House, you should get that. I just thought I'd show you this thing that I bought on eBay some years ago. I never had it framed. I've been meaning to, but there you go. Some wonderful Nick Seymour artwork there. So guys, like I said, if you have any comments about any of this, I rarely find or talk to people who love Crowded House as much as I do. I did have an outlet for that many years ago when I met Rebecca online from Australia, and my first live experience in any capacity for Crowded House was when I went to Sydney in 2000, and they were doing concerts at the Domain. That's the park behind Governor's House in Sydney for the Olympic Games, and I saw the wonderful Leonardo's Bride warm up for Neil Finn playing solo there. And I remember looking up, and there were these huge bats flying above the crowd. That was an experience I will never forget. That and sitting in a bus, seeing flocks of or groups. I don't know. Not the 9 o'clock news would probably call them a flange of kangaroos running next to the bus. That was pretty exciting. Yeah. So guys, thank you for watching. Please click like, that helps my channel. If you want to subscribe, well, that makes me happy, and I hope to see you soon in another video. Bye bye.